Hello friends, I'm Ritik Goyal. Right now I'm doing my MBBS from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Now in this lesson I'll teach you about cardiac cycle. Now what exactly the cardiac cycle is? Cardiac cycle refers to the mechanical and the electrical events that repeats with every heartbeat. जैसे अपना हार्ट बीट करता है तो जो भी उसके साथ मैकेनिकल और इलेक्ट्रिकल इवेंट्स होते हैं वो अपने डिस्कस किए जाते हैं कार्डियक साइकिल में. नाउ मेनली अपन इस लेसन में मैकेनिकल इवेंट्स को स्टडी करेंगे. उसके बाद नेक्स्ट लेसन में ईसीजी पे जो लेसन होगा उसमें अपन इलेक्ट्रिकल इवेंट्स के साथ डील करेंगे. नाउ इन द कार्डियक साइकिल द टोटल ड्यूरेशन ऑफ कार्डियक साइकिल इज 0.8 seconds और 800 milliseconds. And there are two terms which are systole and the diastole. Now systole means contraction while the diastole means relaxation. So when the heart is in contracted state we say it to be systole condition, and when the heart is in relaxed position then it is said to be in the diastole condition. Now in cardiac cycle the atrial systole is for 0.1 seconds while atrial diastole is 0.7 seconds, and ventricular systole is 0.3 seconds, 0.1 second to 0.4 seconds, that is the point total duration is 0.3 seconds, while ventricular systole is 0.5 seconds. Moreover, atrial systole and ventricular systole do not overlap. You can see that atrial systole is separate and ventricular systole is separate. They both do not overlap, but atrial diastole and ventricular diastole overlap for half of the cardiac cycle. You can see the overlapping of ventricular and atrial diastole. Now while discussing the cardiac cycle, we must remember that both sides of the heart are synchronized, and also the activity going on right side will be same as that of going on the left side. Now we talk about the phases of cardiac cycle. Initially, atrial systole is there for 0.1 seconds. Initially, atrial systole is there for 0.1 seconds. Now in the atrial systole we can see that these atria contracts and the blood is poured into the ventricles. Okay, then after the atrial systole we have a second phase when the atrial systole ends and the atrial diastole begins, and at the same time ventricular systole begins. So ventricle starts to contract, but the blood does not move out of the ventricle and the volume of the ventricles remains same. So this period is known as isometric because of same volume, contraction period because it is the contraction of the ventricles have started. You can see the contraction is started, and so the blood tends to flow out of the ventricles. As the pressure builds up, the blood starts to flow out into the aorta and the pulmonary trunk respectively. Now there are two phases within the ventricular systole. The first phase, which is known as isometric contraction period, while the second phase in which rapid ejection and the slow ejection occurs out from the ventricles into the main trunks of arteries. Now after the ventricular systole we have ventricular diastole. Now ventricular diastole, earlier ventricle starts to relax, but the AV valves remain closed, so blood does not come from atria to ventricle, and hence the volume remains the same, and this period is also known as isometric relaxation period because it occurs during the diastole, so it is known as isometric relaxation period, while the earlier one was isometric contraction period. Okay, we do not need to confuse in both these terms. Then afterwards, as more relaxation occurs, now AV valves open because the pressure of the atrial side is more as compared to that of the ventricular side, so the blood start pouring into the ventricles from the atria. तो ब्लड वेंट्रिकल्स में बढ़ेगा, उसका वॉल्यूम बढ़ेगा. इनिशियली ब्लड थोड़ा तेज़ आएगा तो उसको अपन बोलते हैं रैपिड इनफ्लो, वाइल बाद में थोड़ा धीरे धीरे आता है तो उसको बोलते हैं स्लो इनफ्लो. So then this takes 0.8 seconds. Now after which another atrial systole begins. Now in the NCRT it is mentioned that during the atrial systole 30% more amount of blood is pushed into the ventricles as compared to the diastolic period. Now talking about all this once again as a summary, you can see that starting from 0, this represents the atria, inner circle, while the outer circle represents the ventricles. Okay, so in atria 0.1 second systole is there, shaded region, and in ventricles 0.3 seconds systole is there, shaded region. Now rapid fillings occur, and during the rapid filling fourth heart sound is produced. Okay, then after the atrial systole the AVV closes, that is atrioventricular valve closes, and due to the AVV closure there is first heart sound, which is known as lub. Now after which IMCP, it is isometric contraction period, is there for some time, and then the semilunar valves open and the blood rushes out rapidly, rapid ejection period, from the ventricles into the aorta and pulmonary trunk. Now after which there is slow ejection period for some time. Then during the ventricular diastole there is a protodiastolic period. In the protodiastolic period the SLV closes. After the protodiastolic period the SLV closes, and during the protodiastolic periods the ventricles stop contracting, and but still the SLV valves are open and blood can still the SLV valves are open. Now after which there is IMRP, this is isometric relaxation period, and also SLV closure produces the second heart sound, which is known as dub. Now IMRP is isometric relaxation period. In this also the volume remains the same. Now AVV opens. AVV is atrioventricular valve opens and the rapid filling of ventricles occur. Now after which a slow filling period is also there. Then again the atria contracts and the same cycle repeats many times. Same cycle repeats again and again. So thank you for watching my video.